Hey, so we're back and we are now talking about Black Panther, which we just finished watching. And such a great reminder of what a great movie it is. So it was actually nice to sit and watch it again. I think maybe we've seen it one other time than the time that we'd seen it in the movie theater, maybe.
Really?
I only remember seeing it in the theater.
Yeah, me too.
I thought we watched it once here, no?
We saw it in a theater.
You know
Okay,
what?
so then
You know
maybe
what?
I'm wrong.
We tried to watch it once here, but you fell asleep immediately.
Okay, that's
That's
entirely plausible. I mean, why wouldn't you just keep watching it even if I did fall asleep?
I think we may have, but you were gone, and then we stopped in the middle because I think it was late or something. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, the story picks up immediately after, I guess, Winter Soldier, and T'Challa goes back home to become the king now of Wakanda, which was beautifully created.
Beautifully rendered, the fully realized world. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What did you kids think of the way it looked?
It was really beautiful.
It was really great.
What was there anything cool about it?
Yeah?
Like what? Give us some examples.
I don't know.
Why'd you like those ships?
Because
they looked like bugs.
Ah, the dragonfly ships. Yeah.
Those are fun. But everything about the world of Wakanda is very futuristic and pretty on the eyes, right? I would say. I mean, it's like a major city, even though in the parts where you're kind of like in the, I don't know, like the markets doesn't look as polished, but still the overall feel of the entirety of Wakanda is spectacular, especially in the first couple of scenes where T'Challa is going back home. I think.
you mean he's going on a mission? So,
Well,
like,
in the
it's
beginning,
just-
after they save Lupita's character, when he comes back home, when he said, this never gets tired.
This never gets
Old.
old.
Sorry.
Yeah, they go through the illusion of the forest, and then you
right.
see the true city.
I like their technology
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how it functions.
And I think Shuri was a great character, maybe one of the better characters ever realized in a Marvel movie.
She's my favorite in the movie.
Why is she your favorite?
I don't know. She's just a good female character. She's strong and smart.
I agree. And it's not often that you see, I guess, young women, especially young women of color, presented. We're talking about Shuri's character. So here's a person who's a young woman, a woman of color, but is presented in a way that's not like a stereotypical norm in movie making. This woman is of royal descent. She's highly intelligent, very modern, even in the confines of a monarchy, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, she seemed to be one of the few that was like, sort of like viewing the traditions as this is a little off. This is a little weird. I mean, let's be honest. Their system of government was not the best.
Yeah, you literally had to kill someone
Yeah.
to get to the crown. Like,
You can-
what if your brother challenged you?
Yeah, it's the whole rite of combat. That's not a way to pick a leader. But hey,
Well, I think some things are just
I
steeped
guess
in
I guess
tradition.
it worked for them for thousands of years until the guy from Killmonger showed up.
Kind of threw everything on an axis.
Yeah, but the film, the way they realized Wakanda was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I also think just all of the characters, even like the lesser characters or the supporting cast, was nobody was wasted. I think everyone fulfilled their duties nicely, and it was nice to see a movie completely from an aspect of people of color, which isn't something that happens very much in traditional superhero movies. So I think you know, a big shout out to Stan Lee for creating Black Panther and bringing that to the masses in comic book form, and then for Marvel being smart enough to say, you know what, this should also be part of the MCU. Hats off to Ryan Coogler, who's an amazing director in spite of being such a young person. An amazing storyteller. I mean, not just from this movie, but just other movies, Fruitvale Station, Creed, you know, where he also uses Michael B. Jordan, who in this movie is Killmonger. So, you know what, can we talk a little bit about Killmonger, who I think is maybe one of the most nuanced characters, and especially one of the most nuanced villains, I think, in the Marvel universe, because you can kind of see where
his life like ran off the track.
Kind of, right. And you sort of empathize, and it's not the norm to usually sympathize with the bad guy in the film, is it?
Right. Well,
but in this movie,
yeah, they showed a character whose anger was justified,
right,
and the fact that he was abandoned by his heritage,
and
basically. His father was murdered by his uncle, and it's pretty Shakespearean, you know.
And yes, absolutely.
And like this sort of like, you know, intrigue, royal intrigue, and how some sort of thing from the past could come back to haunt you, as it did with, you know, the Wakandan royal family. This child that they sort of wrote off as, you know, an ugly blemish on you know,
their perfect faces.
Yeah, on their perfect faces, their perfect family, however you want to phrase it. They probably thought, oh well, he'll just continue living in America and eventually die, and he became so consumed with
anger,
vengeance and anger that it turned him into this like perfect killing machine. And he came back home, and you know, you reap what you sow.
Absolutely.
Wait, wasn't Stanley there when they were like?
Stan Lee was the thirsty gambler.
Yeah.
Is that what he's
credited as thirsty gambler, and he stole T'Challa's winnings at the roulette table.
But I think also another thing, especially I think originally when we saw the movie in the theater, and something that came back in my mind now just viewing it, was the whole what could have been. What if, you know, the king at the time had brought Killmonger home, and hadn't let him, you know, kind of fall by the wayside. You know, T'Challa and him would have been brothers almost, growing up together.
As a child, he said, you know, his father would always tell him that he would bring him there, and he's like, imagine believing in fairy tales. It wouldn't have been a fairy tale, it would have been real. His whole life would have been
different,
completely altered. Him and T'Challa probably would have been friends.
And he also said that like the sunsets there were beautiful.
He did say that,
and he saw it right at the end before he died.
Right. It was almost poetic, right?
Oh, spoilers, right?
Oops. Well, we'll put a disclaimer beforehand. And I think, you know, obviously the scene at the end where he slips away, where he says, you know, I would rather jump off the ship like my ancestors, the slaves, did, because...
Well, bury me in the ocean.
Bury me in the ocean.
Like my ancestors who would rather have death than bondage.
Right. I think that's also a very powerful statement, and, you know, obviously deeply rooted in the history of, like, the African-American experience, especially in this country, where, you know,
That's where African-Americans are from.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just saying, you know, it's interwoven into the story, which, you know, kudos for acknowledging that and you know, I mean, adding it to the story.
I think that's where it really pays off, that you're having a script written by African Americans, directed by African Americans, portrayed by African Americans. Right. You're going to get, you know, basically a more authentic point of view, rather than when we grew up, it was a lot different. You looked on TV and you were basically presented with stereotypes.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
There's the black guy in the movie. He's the drug dealer, or he's the comedy relief.
Right, or in a horror film, usually the first person to die in the first 10 minutes of a movie. I think from that point of view, it was very powerful, and I agree with you. Just having this particular story deeply rooted in people of color, from production to story to execution to everything, gives it more authenticity. Kudos to Marvel again for, going this route and allowing these stories to be told and picking this, I guess this property of theirs to bring to the big screen. I also want to say that I really, again, just the whole, as a parent, when I look at Killmonger, my heart breaks because you always, as a good parent, you want the next generation to be better than you, to have a better life, to be successful, to move ahead, to do better even than ourselves in a way, right? That's the goal of every parent. We try to push our offspring and our children to strive to be the best that they can be. And again, it's so heartbreaking to me. It's done in such a lovely, nuanced way in this movie because it's not overkill, right? I mean, you don't really.
It's not overkill. You don't feel like you're being preached to.
The story and where Killmonger goes from the beginning to the end is very organic, and the development of the story is very organic, and his story deeply affects T'Challa's story, because if it wasn't for Killmonger and the life that Killmonger was basically forced to go through, T'Challa's worldview would not have changed, really. True.
He would not. The end of the movie wouldn't be him, opening up Wakanda to the rest of the world,
right?
And trying to help the rest of the world. It would just be, okay, back to business as usual. We got to keep everything secret. Remember,
right? Which is interesting because that's a really great point that you made, because even Lupita's character, who basically was like, well, I want to go out into the world and help others, and as much as he loved her,
and the way she had to do it previously was through subterfuge. She was a spy,
right.
Now she's the head of the outreach program.
Right. So Killmonger's story definitely resonated and ripple effect the wider story.
I mean, as a bad guy, he literally changed the way the nation worked. I mean, his way obviously was, let's just go out there and start killing everybody.
Right.
But his actions pretty much change. He's going to basically get what he wanted in a way, but
except
not through
bloody.
Except it's not through it's not through blood and mayhem. It's through education and
opportunities, cooperation,
and helping the world rather than enslaving it.
What was your favorite part of the movie? Oh,
What did you like best, Olive?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. You just watched the whole movie with us.
I don't know.
Olivia probably forgot every main detail of it.
Did you like the fights?
Kind of.
Did you like the outfits?
outfits were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the big rhinoceroses smashing into people and sending them flying? The masks that the people wore? The car chase?
The car chase I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I like how she was like driving that car.
Even though she wasn't there.
I remember when we saw it in the theater during that car chase, you were dancing like crazy to that music.
That's true. That's true.
Olivia was dancing at the end credits too.
Yeah. That's a great song though. We could do a whole segment on why Kenny Lamar is such a national treasure. But what about you, G? What was your favorite part of the movie?
When Stanley took all of his, whatever you call them.
His chips.
Yep.
I am glad that he got to be in all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe
Even
movies.
that Teen Titans Go movie?
And
He was
did
a
a
Teen
voice in it.
Titans
Yeah,
Go,
yeah.
even though it wasn't a Marvel thing.
Even though it was a Marvel thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, the new ones won't have them.
Aww, it is sad. What about you? What was your favorite part of the movie?
His soul lives on with the movie.
My favorite part, probably just like the way the two story arcs of Killmonger and T'Challa intersected with each other and affected each other to the point where they really like their arcs. Well, especially T'Challa's arc would not have been complete without Killmonger, and it really made it seem very organic. It wasn't. You never felt like anybody was doing something because the script demanded it.
Right.
It was always, yeah, that's what would happen if this situation were to arise.
Right.
And I thought that was really well done. Just the way the characters were able to interact with each other and seriously affect each other, on an emotional, intellectual level. That just worked, and you could really tell. And there's a lot of films out there where a guy will just do something that's just, why the hell did you do that?
Right.
Just because he wants to.
Yeah, it was just because the plot needed it, or I'm going to do something incredibly stupid because if I don't do this stupid thing, the plot can't advance, and
the movie will stop.
Yeah, there was none of that in this movie.
No,
everything led up to everything
lovely.
else.
Yeah.
I mean, Killmonger's working with
Claw.
Claw. It worked.
Right.
I mean, I love Andy Serkis. I was sad to see him die, but it was
perfect.
You needed it. It was
right.
absolutely no. Oh, yeah, spoiler alert. Andy Serkis dies. I loved Andy Serkis' arm. I thought him blowing stuff up.
Cool.
That thing was
so cool.
That thing was so cool. But
and also as an actor, and I think I mentioned this previously, just he's so amazing to watch. Andy Serkis, he really inhabits a character and gets into the skin, and I really enjoy him as a heavy. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked his character in 13 Going on 30, but I think when he really inhabits like these very complex, layered
he was
bad guys.
Going on 30?
Yeah, he was the magazine editor.
The head of the magazine.
The head of the magazine. He looked very different. I mean, in this, he looked so jacked. I'm like, Jesus.
He looks old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And the 13 Going on 30, he had dark, greasy hair and
was skinny.
Clean shaven.
Yeah. But, and he's also just fun to watch, and him with that crazy accent and just this ripped upper body. I was like, what is going on?
And he looked like a psychopath.
Yes.
He has that mania in his eyes.
Yes.
He really knows how to project
that. Absolutely.
Even when he's dead.
Yeah, I agree.
The look in his eyes when he was dead was creepy.
Yeah. Shout out to Martin Freeman, also a good, versatile actor.
Yeah, good addition to the story.
Who you would not know is an Englishman from his...
They're stealing all our jobs.
And it's funny because then, like, when you hear Tom Holland also.
Yeah, Tom Holland.
Just, I mean, shout out to the diction coach on Spider-Man because, seriously, if you didn't know that Tom Holland was a true Brit, you just wouldn't know. He sounds like a boy from Queens.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, everything about this movie, top to bottom, just flawless. I think great script. There wasn't any lag as far as I was concerned. I mean, everything moved quickly and well, and everything in the story was organic. You never questioned any of the decisions or any of where the story was headed. The set design, the art direction was phenomenal. I mean, you look at what Wakanda is and you actually believe that it exists.
And that's not just all CG.
Even though it's all just CG. Yes. you know, the world that they create, the world that they inhabit, everything is just really nicely done. As far as the acting, just stellar performances from everyone. Again, top to bottom. I mean, Angela Bassett, always a treat to watch. Forrest Whitaker, you know, always a treat to watch. Chadwick Boseman, just amazing. Lupita, I wish my only thing was I wish she would have had a little bit more, but you know, it is what it is, and you know,
I feel for like a supporting character.
She got good screen time. Yeah, no.
I mean, you don't want to like. The focus should be on, you know, T'Challa,
right,
and Killmonger.
Yeah.
So, a good thing about her character, she didn't feel like, you know, oh, it's the love interest.
Right.
She actually did more than just be like
a pretty set piece. Yeah.
You know, we used to date, now we don't anymore, and blah blah.
Right. And I always
she's actually like, beating people up.
It's funny. I think you and I have had this conversation.
Was she like the one with the rings?
Yes, that was T'Challa's old Nakia. That was T'Challa's old girlfriend, who he still obviously harbored feelings for.
Yes.
And you and I have had this conversation about how I don't mind romantic movies, but I really like when my action movies are more action heavy. Yeah. You know, I mean, if there's a kiss here and there, fine.
Yeah,
but
I don't need any makeout scenes.
Exactly. That's why one of the reasons why I loved Pacific Rim so very much, because it was aliens versus robots.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't. And there was no kissing.
Yeah, at the end.
Well, at the end there was like a hug. That was it. You know.
But that's not kissing.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. I thought that was a perfect movie. I'm still mad at America for making Grown Ups the #1 movie that weekend, but you know, whatever.
Was it Grown Ups or Grown Ups 2?
I think it was the first Grown Ups. I don't remember actually. I think it was the first one. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, getting back to Black Panther, just top to bottom, really just well done. Kudos to Marvel. Kudos to Ryan Coogler. Kudos to the cast. Nobody's wasted. Everyone just brings their A game, makes terrific storytelling, an awesome movie. You know, it's funny when you hear people say, well, I don't get it. And it's like, how do you
it's
not...
It's not funny. You want to kill them when they say it.
Well, I think, you know, not to politicize, but I think a lot of it comes from ignorance and this unwillingness to step in other people's shoes.
Yeah, some people just don't want to give something a chance because of the way it looks.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And,
you know,
they're not...
They're never going to get it.
They're
and it's unfortunate.
Get it, and doesn't matter, you know. Just listen to the story. Get involved in the story. Let the story guide you. You know, allow yourself to lose yourself. You know.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you can learn something, and if you can take something away from it and apply it to everyday life, that's great. I mean, you know, at the end, the things that separate us are nothing compared to the things that we all share. You know, we love our families, we love our communities. You know, we try to be decent people. You know, heavy is the head of the one who wears the crown. You know, to be a leader, sometimes you have to make difficult choices. I think T'Challa's dad made a difficult choice. I think I agree.
It wasn't a good choice.
It wasn't. I was going to say I agree with T'Challa. It wasn't the correct choice, but it was a choice that he made. It was a choice that he had to live with. I'm sure the guilt and the shame of it was something that he carried with him always. You know, to kill your own brother. I mean, that's pretty impactful stuff. It's, you know, as you said, very Shakespearean. Mm-hmm. So. You know, and again, you know, we talked about how different Killmonger's life would have been had he been brought back into the fold. It probably wouldn't have been this story, obviously, because
it wouldn't have been.
Yeah, and I think it's good that you had a villain that you could sort of sympathize with here. You know, And it wasn't just some lunatic who was bad just for the sake of being bad. Although those kind of villains are also fun to watch, right? But I think for this particular story, I think it made it more impactful, right?
Yeah.
Because you're seeing someone who
has a good motive for being what they are.
You know what? Claw filled that role of the villain who is bad for being bad. I mean,
right.
His motive was entirely greed based.
Right. Right.
You know?
Whereas Killmonger's was more hurt and revenge.
Yeah.
But you could see why he became the way he did.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, you know, it was a good movie, but I think also you take away like this kind of devastation, you know, that his own family kind of turned against him. His uncle killed his father and then just left him there, you know.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I guess it's very, very heartbreaking. So that definitely adds another layer to the story, right? It's not just a, you know, there's more shades of gray here because it's not just, again, like, you know, like what you said about Claw, you know, he's bad because of his greed. You know, with Killmonger, you have other reasons, and, you know, justifiably so.
But he was still a bad guy.
He was absolutely still a bad guy. Still a bad guy.
There's no justification for wanting mass murder.
Agreed. And all those brands on his body was a lot of body count.
Yeah. He enjoyed killing.
Yes. So let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
But again, you have to wonder what his life could have been like had he had been afforded a different opportunity and a different future.
Yeah. I mean, the little moment he had with his dad, it seemed to be a loving relationship. It wasn't abusive.
Right.
Or hateful.
You know.
Right.
But circumstances were what they were, and it turned him into that.
Right. Heartbreaking, but good, fabulous. Scale of 1 to 10, go.
I'd give it a 9.
I too would give it a 9. I was gonna say 8.5 or 9, but I think it's a solid 9.
Yeah.
I give it 9 3/4.
9 3/4. The almost perfect movie.
Yeah.
So,
Probably my only little gripe with it was the end fight scene was a bit too CG-ish.
I could see that.
There's a little rubberiness to those bodies flying around.
Right.
That you only see with CG bodies. But other than that, I mean, the special effects were pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I like the way they handled the technology, like especially with their little watches. And when like all the grains would pop up and it would just turn into the person's head.
Yeah.
That looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
that was pretty realistic.
Yeah. When can we develop that? I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
Yeah, like 17,000 centuries from now.
So yeah.
So that is it from us. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Marvel's Black Panther. And we will be back another time with another movie. I still haven't made my decision on what my choice was going to be, other than the 2 movies that I mentioned to you secretly. But when you hear back from us, you'll know what that is.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Also, Olivia's in the bathroom.
Yep.